Joining us now on the phone line is the head coach of the world champion Kansas City Chiefs after Kansas City rolled out the red carpet, the Chiefs red carpet for everybody. A great weekend. Andy Reid back here in the Rich Eisen Show. How you doing, Coach?
I'm doing good, Rich. How are the hamstrings, man? You did good.
I appreciate you saying that. I am in one piece, which is
nice.
the second most important thing of my fundraiser. Obviously, raising money is the most. I appreciate you saying that, though. I am in one piece.
You do a great job with that.
Thanks, Andy. I really appreciate that. So let me just jump in with both feet here. What was your goal going into this draft this year, coming off of another world championship? Andy.
Yeah, so we wanted to make sure. Listen, we've got most of the guys coming back, so we wanted to make sure that we had depth and competition, and I think that's what happened. I mean, we got a nice edge rusher, a couple of them actually, and we got some secondary help, which will build good competition there, and and then offensively we got a receiver that we feel real good about. And an offensive lineman that we feel good about, a tackle that has flex to play the guard spot too. So that's kind of where we're at. And I thought Brett did a nice job of navigating around it and making sure we pick these guys up.
Is there a prototype that you and Brett Veach have concocted together that you place into play for a draft? I mean, you hit on so many picks last year. 2 of them scored in the Super Bowl, for crying out loud. What is a Kansas City Chief? Is there a general outlook that you have?
Yeah, I think the thing that Brett does so well is he looks for redeeming qualities in the player, and as a coach, you try to exploit those the best you possibly can. So he identifies them, he communicates them with the coaches, and then can they get stronger in the other areas? And he and his guys kind of focus in on that and communicate that with the coaches, and then the coaches jump in on it. It's kind of unique. So I'm not telling you there's one. We don't necessarily cram in as a cookie cutter mold player for each position. That's not what we're doing. We're trying to find things that we can use, exploit, and then work on the other things and coach and teach them to get better at.
When do you chime in on the process, Andy?
You know what? He does a great job of keeping me abreast on it the whole way. So I'm fortunate that he does that. And I don't do anything on it, Rich. Really, I'm watching, but he tells me the guys that we're looking at. He lets me get involved with the stacks and kind of sorting those out. And but he and his guys, they and our coaches, he includes those guys in, and I think they do a great job of working together and get good players.
And obviously, quarterback-driven league. The latest, it's funny, the draft and the area in which the draft was held, your 2 Super Bowl parades were kind of a dry run for everybody in the NFL, to get all the fans there and that spot where the draft hall was. And I saw all the 15 jerseys around, and that's what you want when you're drafting a quarterback. That's what everybody's dreaming of. And I know there's just one Mahomes, but I'm just wondering, as we're all trying to crack the code in the NFL and observers about why the quarterback position is so difficult to evaluate, why did you land on Mahomes all those years ago, now that we're seeing a record number of quarterbacks drafted in the draft? I just want to unload that for a minute, Andy. What did you see in him that you thought that's the guy?
So Brett was responsible for looking at him, and he was a scout at the time. And he brought, from the first time he saw him, he brought Dorsey and I the tape. He says, "You got to see this kid. I mean, he's unbelievable. He's the best I've ever seen." I mean, he literally said that. And he had that whole southeast region of the country, and so that's kind of the hotbed. That's where there's so many good players that come out of that area. And so then he bombarded us with that for a couple of years, and with these tapes. And he just, by the time we brought him in and had a chance to meet him, we felt like we already knew him, and that was it was just one of those deals. He saw him and liked him, and then Dorsey and I were both, John and I were both around Favre, and we saw some similarities there. I mean, the way he kind of plays like he's in the backyard, and he just has fun doing it. And so there were some similarities there that way. And we were both attached to him. John did all the work of moving up to get him, but I tell you, Brett was the one that had first eyes on him.
Do you think he would have turned into the guy he turned into if he had to play week one, day one, Andy?
He might have. I mean, who knows? I've had so much luck with just working the guys, kind of easing them in and getting them used to some of the blitz game that these coordinators come up with. I mean, we got so many smart guys on that defensive side that come up with all these different looks, and when they see a rookie, man, they're drooling, and so it gives you an opportunity just to buy a little time there to get him used to it. We had Alex Smith, and Alex is a heck of a football player, and I thought it was best that we took our time with him.
Yeah, and clearly you see what he is now. So, is there anything he can improve upon, Andy? For real, like it just what? Can you give me for instance?
It's funny because quarterbacks are like farmers. I mean, the work's never done. There's always something you can work on, and I mean it's small stuff now. Whether it's dealing with footwork or ball placement or whatever. I mean, there's always something to work on, and so he does that, and he wants to do that. I mean, he wants to know what we see, what we can give him to make him even greater than he already is.
Well, can you give me an example, Andy, from your perspective of his competitive level? The conversation certainly coming off of this championship season places him on, the Curry level. I mean, we just saw Steph with a 50-point game in a Game 7. Another level that he's been equated to is Kobe or Jordan. I mean, up there, Tiger, that sort of competitive level. And he just seems to be such a sweetheart that we don't see the red ass, right? Or that sort of competitive aspect. Do you got a good story on that, where you had to deal with that on the sideline, Andy?
Yeah. Probably when I told him he had to go get his ankle x-rayed. I mean, he about wanted to kill me, but that it was pretty red at that time. You know what I'm saying, Rich? He was upset. But he's competitive. You saw him, John, with one of the players there on the other team, and I'm going to come after you and all this bit. So he's competitive everything he does. He's competitive in practice. He challenges guys. He's competitive with his own guys, with the defensive guys. They play these little games during training camp. I mean, it could be shooting a small basketball, a mini basketball, and into a hoop stuck on the door, and he wants to win the thing. And that's how he's wired. He grew up in a locker room, and that's his life. I mean, that's how he goes about it.
Andy Reid here, a few minutes left with the head coach of the world champion Kansas City Chiefs. Let's just talk about you, if you don't mind, which I know is perhaps your least favorite subject, but you've pretty much done so much. You're way up there in total wins and playoff wins, and now winning a Super Bowl twice with Kansas City right now, Coach Reid. How much longer do you want to keep doing this very difficult job?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I still enjoy it. I'm not sure. That's a tough question. I know I'm on the back end of the mountain. I got it. And as far as years to coach, but I'm still enjoying it. And I've got good players here, and I've got good management, good ownership. So I'm happy doing what I'm doing. And I enjoy the work level. I mean, it is. It's a grinder, but it's a good grinder.
Well, I mean, so many coaches that I've been around, when they've done it for as long as you have, Andy, the losses and the disappointment of it are just so much deeper and more intense than the victories. lend enjoyment. Do you find that, or you don't find that right now in your career?
Yeah, no, losses they rip your heart out. I mean, that's how it goes. You spend so much time making sure that you don't put yourself in that position, and this is all coaches, and that you don't put your players in that position, and nobody likes to lose. So it's but there's things you can learn from it, and you've got 17 games to do that, and so you try to keep it as even keeled as you can, but still have the urgency to make sure you come out on the winning side and learn from the losses.
Andy, I really appreciate the time, and I don't know if you know the answer to this question that I'll ask as I send you out the door. Did Travis Kelce really spike the Lombardi Trophy over the weekend? Did that really happen, Coach?
Yeah, it wasn't the Tiffany one though. It was 10, but not probably the same grade as the Tiffany one.
Okay, so it's not a real Lombardi Trophy that he was shotgunning a beer off of and then spiking on the ground.
No.
Okay.
No, Travis does it. He does it a little different. He's a great kid with a huge heart. I think you know that.
Oh, I do.
And he loves to have fun, but he would never spike the real one.
I don't think so. I mean, but people
give him a fake one, and it's going down. It looks like.
I saw that. I'm like, get out of here. By the way, very incredible, lifelike replica of what he spiked on the ground. That's for sure.
Yeah, well, they make those. They're out there. Patrick gave one away on their parade. So, I mean, these Lombardis are floating around, man.
I saw that, too. That was also somewhat infused moment, I think, when he just handed that. So, okay, so that wasn't a real Lombardi that he handed off on the parade route either, is what you're saying.
No, okay. It took us a long time to get back to the Super Bowl and to get that first one. So somebody must have been making a killing on making these things. Everybody in town's got one. Well,
Coach, appreciate the time. The hometown crushed it. It was great this weekend.
Well, I appreciate it. You guys did too. So
thank you. I appreciate that as well. Best to you and your family, and we'll chat again soon. Thanks again.
Thank you, Rich.
You bet. That's Andy Reid, head coach of the Kansas City Chiefs, here on the Rich Eisen Show. Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.